I took a little extra time this morning to tell you about meditation because really that's the most important thing. And so our time is a little limited, but I shall not keep you too long. I know the Master said, meditate with people. You'll do them much more good than too many words. And so I did take the time this morning, of course, that I give you something real, something tangible, and that is true. The more you meditate and make it your business to know God, He can tell you all these things which come up in the church here, the different subjects, if you but know Him. And so I did take that time to give you something positive. Rather than give you flowery words and tell you stories and such things, and that reminds me of stories, I must tell you one. Get this off my chest, so to speak. Then we'll take up the subject. Somebody told me that 3 people landed in Hades, a good Catholic and a self-realizationist and a Christian Scientist. And they were talking it over, and the good Catholic says, well, he says, I did sin some, and I think I should be here in Hades. And so then the self-realizationist said, yes, he says, I didn't follow the Master. I didn't meditate and do my pranayama as I should, and I certainly deserve to be here. So they asked the Christian Scientist how he felt, and he said, I ain't in Hades, and it isn't hot here either. So now that we got that settled, and there's more truth than poetry in that, Christian Science is good. If you have the realization, and I guess he had it all right. So now let us go on with our subject, the cosmic motion picture. The cosmic motion picture, and to understand this means that we must know a little something about 2 things, phenomena and noumena. Phenomena is the product of the senses. For instance, all things we see, known as phenomena, we associate with sensation, mind and intellect, while the things of the noumena, which means the underlying cause of the reality, are associated with intuition. Just to give you one illustration of our body. You see your body, you see my body. Now that's a phenomenon. And we know it through the different senses. That is, most of it, we know, the external part of us, through the senses of sight, touch, taste, smell, and so forth. And the idea that we have formulated as to our body. But within us is the cause of that body, the noumena. How do we know that? Through intuition. And so it is with this cosmic motion picture. The outward part of it, the phenomena, the matter, which is the shadow part of the light of God which has created this universe upon universe and this world, we know through the senses, the mind and the intellect. But the reality behind it, God's great light and His love which has produced it, just like the motion picture is produced by the beam of light on the screen. So God's great light has produced universe upon universe, this world of ours, including our bodies, by the projection of His great power, His light, on the screen of our consciousness and on the screen of space. And so let us realize those 2 things, phenomena depending upon sensation, which is not to be depended upon, and noumena, the underlying cause, which is dependent upon the power of God in us, in our souls, as the intuition. Now the noumena of this body is what? Is the body of light, called in the Bible Radha, or John, called John in the Bible, Radha in the Hindu philosophy. Now that's a part of the great light of God, but it is in us. It is separated from Him, but that is the underlying cause of this body, the electronic part of this body, the body of energy, and the body of light. Now science has shown, and is showing all the time, that matter resolves into first energy and finally into light. You take the hydrogen atom made up of 1 proton and 1 electron. When that is resolved, it becomes 1 photon, but the mass is equal to the sum of the proton and the electron, showing nothing is lost, and that matter resolves into first energy, then into light. Now there's been one fellow from, I have a reference here, from Harvard, who has built that up. Built it this way, so to speak, from light into energy as the gamma rays, and finally into matter as the positron. And just for your information, it is Professor Oldenburg, Otto Oldenburg of Harvard, and he says, while in the annihilation process just described, or what I have just spoken, say of the hydrogen atom, it is first translated transformed into radiation and then into light. In the reverse process, radiation is transformed into mass. As I have said, the gamma rays are transformed into positrons. So you see, science has shown this thing. It's shown this thing which the yogis knew ages ago, and which the Master often used to speak of, the light beyond the atoms is the one eternal light which has produced this light and shadow of this universe. Now, the one eternal light of the yogis is the same as science calls free electrons, that light which has produced all things. So behind this cosmic motion picture, let us realize that there is one underlying noumena, whether you like it or not. This seems so real. Now, by the electron microscope, it has been shown that the heavy metals are metals, even heavy metals like tungsten. Through the electron microscope, they have shown that it is simply vibrating atoms of light. But due to the illusion, being true to our five senses of touch, taste, smell, and so forth, it seems as it is a metal. Really, it is vibrating light. That's the underlying noumena. That's what we must understand if we are to get out of this delusion of this cosmic motion picture. In St. John, 1st chapter, the 14th verse, the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Couldn't be any clearer. The Word is the holy vibration, an aspect of which is light. And the cosmic sound is the Word. The Word, with its aspect light, has been made flesh and dwells among us. How? By the projection of that light through the films in God's intelligence, producing universe upon universe, is the method of the cosmic motion picture. But remember, the outward part is unreal. This body passes away. This world will pass away, but God's eternal light will not pass away. Now we must know that. We must be one with that. And so the noumena behind the cosmic motion picture is God's great light. The power, the one single power which has made all things and is producing this vast cosmic motion picture. The Master used to always refer to two illustrations, and he told me, he says, never forget these. One is your dream consciousness, and the other is the motion picture with which we are so familiar. Now, in your own dream consciousness, what happens? The light of God in you, as your astral body, projects itself through the little subconscious films made up of different ideas and has produced your conscious life. So, the same with God's production of this great universe upon universe. His one light through the many films that he has assembled. Think of it, universe upon universe throughout the ages. He has projected that light through those different films and produced universe upon universe throughout time. Now, just for your own information, if you'd like to read it, you read in Revelation, the 4th chapter, and the whole picture is given you there, how it is done. But you'll have to read it several times to realize it. There the whole thing is shown, just like the booth, the motion picture booth. Master used to call it the booth of eternity. The lens is there, and the films are there, and the product is, as we know, universe upon universe. Sometime when you're in a good meditative mood, read it. 4th chapter of Revelation. And then meditate for many years on it. Perhaps you'll realize it. It's most wonderful. I've been waiting for the Master to give out his revelation. It hasn't come yet. I hope soon it will come with other things which are supposed to have come long ago. But for some reason or other, due to the press of work and so forth and getting this organization going, it hasn't been done. But let us realize now, so behind this cosmic dream, this cosmic motion picture, with its light and shadow, is one eternal light which has produced it. The one universal light, God's light, the Holy Ghost. Now that's the underlying noumena. Now, if you are one with that, this is the important thing to realize. If you are one with that, how can you be hurt? How can you be sick? How can you be sinful? How can you be anything but that light? And that's the key. That's the key to the whole subject this morning. How the modus operandi is, that's another thing. That's God's business. But the thing we're interested in is how to get out of this delusion, how to get out of being hurt, how to get away from suffering, how to be in that which does not pass away, God's one eternal light and love. That's the underlying noumena, and as I have said, the yogis knew it, science is showing it all the time, and you can know it if you will follow one who knew it. In other words, follow the techniques which the Master has left for us to do. Then you will realize behind this outward body and your consciousness of life made up of different ideas, you'll find the one eternal light, the noumena, which is indestructible and which cannot be hurt, cannot be moved in any way, because that's God himself in each and every one of us. Now going on just a little bit further, one thing the Master said, which I've taken from his autobiography, and I wish you would read, those of you who have the book, those of you who haven't it should get it, is this. The science is showing, the Master says, through many modern discoveries, to help men to understand that the cosmos is a varied expression of one power. Einstein knew that. One power. Light. Guided by divine intelligence. Just don't think it's ordinary light behind the atoms. No, but in that light is the divine intelligence of God. Just like the beam coming from the motion picture booth, in that beam is something that gives the right light and shadow on the screen, isn't it, to give you the play? So, in this light of God which you can perceive, in your deep meditation is the intelligence of God. And so, science has shown and admits that this cosmos is the product of one power, God's light. And in that light is his great feeling and intelligence, love. That's why, as I said in the beginning, love is a very, very important matter. Those who do not love will perish. Remember that. You might say those who do not, through deep meditation, know that one light of God will perish because all other things are unreal. That's the real part of our existence, is that light of God. And so we have, as I have said, we have these illustrations of science, the electron microscope, where they saw the vibrating light atoms. It's most wonderful when you think of it. And then you have the testimony of the saints. And you'll have your own testimony if you will carry it through. Now, the Master says, how are we going to understand this? We're going to understand it by getting into the booth of eternity. In the ordinary motion picture, if you go into the booth behind the machine, and there you see the beam of light going out and producing the picture on the screen, don't you, in the movie house. Now, if we get into the booth of eternity, get into God's light, then you can see the cosmic motion picture being projected on the screen of space and know it as a reality. Now, you can get into the booth of eternity if you follow one who had gotten into that booth of eternity, our own Master. Then we have the ways and the means right within us, because we are, as Mr. Kubation said, our consciousness is God's consciousness. And that light which we see within us is God's light. So if we follow it back, break the limitations, then we can be one with the great cosmic light which is producing this cosmic motion picture. Now, from the A.Y. Master's book, I'd just like to read you one passage, and then we'll be through, which explains it far better than I can in my own words. The Master says as follows: the cosmic director, which is God himself, the cosmic director has written his own plays and assembled a tremendous casts for the pageant of centuries. Imagine it. Imagine it. Ages on ages this thing has been going on. Look back through history, but then how much beyond history? Through the creation of this universe upon universe. And so the Master says, the cosmic director has assembled the tremendous casts of this pageant of the centuries. From the dark booth of eternity, he pours his creative beam through the films of successive ages, and the pictures are thrown on the screen of space. Just as the motion picture images appear to be real, but are only combinations of light and shade, so is the universal variety a delusive seeming. This matter which seems so real is the shadow aspect of the cosmic motion picture. The planetary spheres with their countless forms of life are nothing but figures in the cosmic motion picture. Doesn't seem so, does it? Meditate, you will see behind you as an entity the one eternal light from which you have come and which sustains you. This is not imagination. Meditate and find out. Otherwise you can listen from now to eternity. Do something about it. Meditate. Follow one who knew the cosmic motion picture, knew its source, God's great light. Follow it, then you will know. And finally, the planetary spheres with their countless forms of life are nothing but figures in the cosmic motion picture, temporarily true to the five sense perception. As the scenes are cast on the screen of man's consciousness by the infinite creative being. Now we have a little motion picture going on right within ourselves. The cosmic light within us, as the astral body, the astral light, which can be seen in meditation, projects through the subconscious film ideas and conceptions which you have. These motion pictures, and you call them dreams. You can see and taste and feel and touch everything going on within you as your dream. So, just enlarge that. Remember, we're made in the image of God. We are God's children. He is in us. Our consciousness is His consciousness. Enlarge that. Project it. Become the one great light. He does the same thing. So, behind this seemingly real universe is the one eternal being which has produced it. And finally, get into that booth of eternity. That's the only way. Break the dream, as we sang in our chant. From this sleep, Lord. Will you wake me from this dream, Lord? Will you wake me? How? Get into the booth. Get behind. Into the booth which is projecting this thing. Get into the booth of eternity, the Master has said. Then you will see the one cosmic light which has produced all things, and which has produced you, made you, and sustains you. Then you'll know the noumena underlying this phenomena of outward life. How to do it? Expand your consciousness from this limited bodily consciousness and this worldly consciousness into the great omniscience of God. Be one with His light. How to do it? Follow the techniques He has left, and these are His words which you can read in the autobiography. Long continued concentration on the liberating spiritual eye enables that devotee to rise above all illusion and illusions of matter, and to know, we might add, and see and realize the one light which has produced all things. That's how it is done, and by realizing that one eternal light which is behind all things, which science has shown, the yogis knew, and you can demonstrate if you will, but meditate. When you know that one eternal light, then you will know that this universe is nothing but a cosmic motion picture, and that you, as that one eternal light of God, are above suffering, sickness, and greatest of all, that you have the great love of the Master of the universe.